best entertainment on the earth. Tune in for Comics with Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. Got a mail here. Let's talk about that. An email here. It says, "Hey Perch, something I don't get about hate of CG is if you listen to CG guys, they like many of their haters. They like the work of Mars, Wade, Conway, and I've heard some say they like early Gail Simone." I, I like how we go through these names, and it's like we can't go all Gail Simone. We have to qualify Gail Simone. Anyway, when these creators say CG wants comics to bring back toxic masculinity or whatever, that's their own work they're referencing. That is a good point. Um, it's I've often wondered that, like not this point exactly, but when as comic creators who have worked on the Punisher are like people who like the Punisher are sick individuals. It's like, well, you created the Punisher, or when it's like, I object to why a bunch of the comic industry is filled with white men, and why they have to put their superheroes in little skirts and things. It's like, dude, didn't you write Miss Marvel? Didn't you actually, in the letters page of Miss Marvel, say that there aren't qualified women to write comics, and you threw in a skirt? Like, that was you. That was you who said that. Anyway, all right, we continue. Even looking at Gail Simone talking about fridging, it wasn't some right-winger from the 50s who fridged Kyle Rayner's girlfriend. It was Ron Mars in the 90s. I do need to joke about that with Mars when I see him. Like I see what he does. Anyway, no one is asking for a graphic novel of Mein Kampf. That would be one depressing ass graphic novel. Anyway, they're saying, I like the 90s stuff from Mark Waid, and somehow that angers Mark Waid. Well, I'll tell you why it angers Mark Waid. And this is a nuance people don't get, but it's true. One way to annoy a creator, whether it's an artist, whether it's a writer, is you say something like, hey, I really liked your old work. That's why a lot of, there's musicians who will go out and do concerts, and they will specifically say, I'm not going to play my old hits. It's because they believe they evolved as a creator and they did new work. But there's people going, I didn't like that evolution you made. I didn't like that change you made to your career. I want the old person back. I just liked your old stuff. Just give me the old stuff. And it gets under their skin like nobody's business. That really irritates creators. If you want to piss off a creator, that's a fast way you can do it. Be like, I don't really read much of your new stuff. I like your old stuff. I wish you'd do more of that. Like, I think you could call them a bastard to their face, and they would take it better than that. But anyway, that's one reason why they get, like, if you want to irritate Mark Waid, you tell him you liked his 90s stuff, but you don't really read the new stuff, and that's going to drive him insane. Now, I'm not suggesting you go do that, but, maybe I am. Go ahead. People always give these disclaimers like, do not contact these people. And I understand, because then you're fostering harassment and everything. All I can say is, if you're about to report this video for fostering harassment, it's clearly a joke. You can tell by me laughing and joking around. Like, this is, I'm not serious. I'm kind of assuming that most of the people here are not insane assholes. If you are one, then no, don't contact these people. If you're an adult who can take a joke, then my earlier point stands. All right, so it says, if you look at, say, rock music, I'm back to the mail. It feels like you're about to do the point I just made. Nostalgia for the past is normal and played up as a good thing. Well, sometimes. Very few people say it's toxic to say, I wish modern music was more like Guns N' Roses. God, I wish it was, though. I love Guns N' Roses so much. Dressed up like Axl Rose for Halloween once. It was wonderful. Dyed the hair. I had really long hair at that point. I just dyed it red. It was great. Ran around in a kilt. Somehow that was more masculine. Today, I'd be making a different kind of statement. Anyway, it was wonderful. I loved Guns N' Roses. Still listening. I was listening to Paradise City just a few minutes ago before I started recording this video. Wonderful stuff. Great guitar. Saw them in Seattle a couple years ago in concert. Even though Axl's fat now, it's still wonderful. But anyway, sorry, back to the mail. If someone said, I'm nostalgic for Bon Jovi, hey, you get their head examined. No, I'm just kidding. It would really be weird of Bon Jovi to say, you just want women and minorities out of music. You're right. That would be weird. Sorry for the long mail. I hope you get what I'm getting at. That wasn't that long a mail. No, this is weird behavior. So I think there's a bunch of things going on here. First off, I mean, like, just to say it outright, and I don't think I'm insulting anyone with saying this, because, if you listen to the interview I did with Ron Mars, I mean, he had said to him, Twitter is kind of a place to go poke people. He's having fun. And I think that you could say, well, that's not good fun to poke at customers or poke at readers, but that's the way he's viewing it. I'm not saying he's right about that, but it gives some context. And I think a lot of people are in that bucket on Twitter. They don't take it seriously. They view the arguments and the fights as some kind of weird game. I know Donnie Cates views it this way, up until the point that they get somebody starts poking them back, and they don't know what to do with it, and then they actually flame out for real. And that's pretty common with a lot of these people. A lot of them are introverts. A lot of them do not have let's say, the most tied together social skills. They're not extroverts. They're kind of interesting little people. And what happens is that they go on Twitter. They don't take it seriously. They are, out to kind of joke around. They flame people. They get flamed back. They also, and this is a weird game to them. And then all of a sudden the game gets a little too intense, and then they kind of spurge out, and then it becomes more real, and they just start yelling at people. And the target of that anger and that yelling is usually, or at least today in Comicsgate. That's usually the source of that. Now, I know people hate it when I do this, but to be fair, just to be fair, there are certainly some individuals who are on Comicsgate that are doing the same thing. They're trolling in the other direction. They are poking at these creators. They're not just saying, "Hey, I would like to see 90s Mark Waid." They're saying, woke Mark Waid needs to be locked in a whatever. Like they make things that are not just, "Hey, I like the old comics." It goes further than that. I mean, you all see it. And in many cases, the vast majority of people, and I've said this to both sides of this, all sides of this, the vast majority of people are joking. That's why I don't go in on the whole, hate speech is violence and everything is hate speech. I mentioned this the other day. It's like the problem I have with, freedom of speech needs to be limited when freedom of speech incites violence is that people are defining violence as everything. Like violence can be actual physical threats against somebody, which probably should be looked into by police if they're serious. Or I don't like Brie Larson's haircut. That is also violence. Sometimes not saying anything is violence. If one of your peers is going, "Hey, we need to protect trans rights," and then you as a creator don't say anything, suddenly you as a creator are inciting violence by not saying anything. That's the problem. We've drawn this gigantic bucket of what is violence, but the reality is, if everybody can just calm the F down and really look at what's going on, most people on social media are screwing around. They're going for clout. They're trying to get likes. They're addicted to dopamine, but they're telling jokes. Nobody's being very serious. And I'll say this as well. There's a video that Richard Meyer did, and he was correct about this. He was talking about people who are funny, who are actually funny. Very few people are actually funny. That's why, like Norm Macdonald, Gilbert Gottfried, rest in peace to both of them. They were amazing comedians. There's lots of good comedians, but I'd say lots. I mean, they're not common. There's some good comedians out there, but they don't just like every other person is not a good comedian. Most people are not funny. I am not funny. When Joe and I do the bad pitches, we're trying to actually be somewhat dry humor, sarcastic. I would never call myself a comedian because I'm not funny. Yes, Mumbles, there you go. I admit it. But many people are trying to be. So they go on social media and they're like, "Hey, look at me, I'm a comedian." And they, the best way to be a comedian, get attention, is to do a cruel comedy and to poke at somebody and to be an asshole. That tends to get a reaction. In many cases, social media has led us to basically, whether you get a good reaction or a bad reaction, it's all good because all you care about is a reaction. You don't care about positive or negative. You just want anything. And in that world, none of this is healthy. So that's where a lot of comic creators are coming from. And so a lot of this stuff where they get angry, they're not taking it seriously. And yeah, that's not good. So because you're not, when you argue with them, when you get into one of these fights, you're not arguing with somebody who is seriously invested in the argument. You're arguing with somebody who's got either joke counter purposes going on, or are trying to show off for their friends, or they're trying to like dunk on CG because that's going to get them a bunch of likes from other comic pros, and maybe they're worried that if they don't say "I hate CG," that they're going to be accused of violence because of something they didn't say. And before you say, "Oh, that's far fetched," I mean, look at what happened to Scott Snyder. They did the what is it like? I promise I won't molest women pledge, which was a weird ass pledge. That went on. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it was I don't know some there's a I don't who was it? There to some comic creator was weird. Maybe it was Warren Ellis. I think it was before that though. I don't know. Maybe it's Cameron Stewart. I don't know. Somebody got themselves into trouble, which everybody saw coming. And so all the comic creators went out there and said, I won't tolerate, harassment to women or bigotry and other things. And it was weird as a pledge because you just kind of hope these people are just doing this normally in real life, that this is just normal business is not to be a crazy asshole. Like if somebody came to me and said, hey, we want you to walk around with a sign saying I won't harass women, I'd say, like, hey, here's a better idea. I'm just not going to harass women. I'll live my life in a way like that. And then I won't have to say a pledge, because if I have to say a pledge, it's like, am I saying I won't do it anymore? Like I wasn't doing it in the first place. Y'all are weird. So anyway, this pledge was going around, and Snyder was like on vacation or something. Like he was away, where he wasn't active on Twitter for a pretty short amount of time. And several people, I think Heather Antos and others, started to be like, I saw Snyder's not saying anything. Why isn't he saying anything? Maybe he does like harassing him. And then Snyder had to show up and be like, oh shit, sorry guys, I was like having a vacation with my kids. I didn't realize we were doing a pledge. Here's my pledge. I promise to. Don't come after me, guys. And so that's the dynamic you have on social media. You have people who are not serious. When I say not serious, that doesn't mean, oh, that behavior is excused. Again, to me, that makes it almost worse, because if you're going to talk and you're going to do something, then you should have some purpose or some intent. But this is all a game. And so when they get into things like, telling creators like, I do think you make a good point. When comic fans say things like, I wish comics would go back to the way they were in the 90s, I liked them then, and then a bunch of creators who were last famous in the 90s get angry with that, it's like, dude, they're trying to say they like your work. I think that's true. Now, yeah. I mean, if only it just stopped there. I do think that, a lot of these groups, CG or otherwise, or if they could back slightly off of the trolling and the same kind of bullshit, frankly, that some of the creators do in return, and more, like it would be much easier. Because I feel bad often, because I have people who are publishing under CG who've been always very pleasant to me, and they've been pleasant to other people as far as I can tell, and they're passionate about their work and their books, and like there's not a problem. The only problem with them, in the eyes of some of these people, is they're using that hashtag. Now, I judge people as individuals, because I believe anybody in a group has the capacity to be an asshole. Doesn't matter the group. And so I feel bad for people who are, they're just doing their thing. They're doing what they say. And then somebody else in the group, meanwhile, is using the tag and spazzing out all over the place. And we have seen that. I get frustrated when people come in like, I've never seen anybody from CG ever make a bad remark about anyone. It's like, okay, come on. The reality is, I've seen someone from 100% of every group make a bad comment about someone at some point. It's happened. Everybody's done it. And so when people's like, not my group. No, of course your group. Everybody's done it a little bit. The key is, look at the people who are being honest and on the level with it, and being good people, and focus on those people, and start to pay attention less to the people who are dicks. It goes back to that other thing I was saying earlier. Just follow better people. Go in on good people. If you go in on good people, that rarely leads you to a bad place. But anyway, it's a good mail. I like the analogy, bro. I mean, it's funny. It is true. I'm now picturing Bon Jovi like, don't come to my concerts. Go watch a concert from a woman. You need to support that Taylor Swift. She's a struggling artist and needs more of your help. I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure some of you don't agree with this take on it, but there you go. There's my take. So thank you for the mail. I appreciate it a lot. And thanks for listening.